Hey everybody. It is time for your Update Wednesday on a Friday afternoon. Sarah here, and I'm excited to recap with you. So as I recap, I'm also going to be cleaning up. I'm still cleaning up from our mini golf event at the Oak Hill campus on Wednesday night. It was pretty great. I learned that I completely and utterly suck at golf. Like, no one's surprised, right? Like, no one looks at me and are like, man, I bet Sarah's good at all sports, because fun fact, I am not. Unless it involves a rubber chicken, you can just safely assume that I'm going to be very bad at it. So I'm going to still be cleaning up while I recap things for you. Now, around Woodbury Lutheran, you have probably heard this phrase a couple of times because we use it a lot, called Love, Save, Changed. And the past few weeks, you guys have been looking at this phrase broken down word by word. So last week, you guys covered love. This week, you covered saved. And we say this phrase a lot around Woodbury Lutheran because it captures our relationship with God in three simple words. And when you unpack those words, you end up getting this more profound meaning that show that we are loved by God, we are saved by his grace and through Jesus' death on the cross, and because we are loved and saved, we are changed and made new by him. So in small group, you guys looked at a passage in Romans, and I want to read it to you guys, but I want to give you a little more context. So in small group, you guys talked about Romans 5, verse 8, but I'm going to start at verse 6, and I'm going to read it to you. Is that okay? I ask questions when I do videos, and I don't know why. It's not like you guys can be like, no, and I'll hear you. So you have to listen anyway. So Romans 5, verse 6. When we were utterly helpless, Christ came at just the right time and died for us sinners. Now, most people would not be willing to die for an upright person, though someone might perhaps be willing to die for a person who is especially good. But God showed his great love for us by sending Christ to die for us while we were still sinners. And it goes on to say how we are saved in the midst of our sinfulness, that God looked at us and said, you're my child, and through Jesus, I'm gonna save you. And I think for us, it's often hard to comprehend that we have a God who sees us, who sees our brokenness, who sees the ways that we mess up, who sees our sins, and yet says, Sarah, I love you. I love you in spite of the things that you don't like about yourself. I love you in spite of the ways that you have messed up, the ways that you have perceived that you have let me down. Our God sees us and reminds us that there is nothing that we can do that will make our God love us any more or any less. That without God, we are nothing, right? That's how that works. It says in some Lutheran liturgy that I myself a poor miserable sinner, and it goes on. I don't have it memorized, sorry, but we are nothing without God. And so the fact that God shows up in our world, that he tells us that we are loved and we are saved, gives us the freedom to live a life according to him. Now, you ended your small group time by maybe praying for someone who needs to hear about God. And when we talk about reaching out and telling people about God, it's not always that you need to have a conversation with someone where you hit this, and this point. But it's simply just placing yourself in a situation where you are willing to have those conversations. Like last week, I was getting my oil changed at the Valvoline over by Eastridge High School. And I was just talking to one of the workers there while I was waiting in line. And one thing led to another, and we ended up talking about baptism and God's plan for us and salvation. And it literally started because this young man said to me, so miss, what do you do for a living? And I said, oh, I work at Woodbury Lutheran Church. I'm a youth minister. And that entire conversation stem from this one point of just me saying, yeah, I work at Woodbury Lutheran. So over this next week, I want you to be praying this prayer that God would open your eyes to people that need to hear about him. That you would maybe step outside your comfort zone and go and just place yourself in a position where you can have those conversations so that you can show the people in your world how much you were loved, saved, and changed by God, but how much they too are loved, saved, and changed by God. So I'm going to keep cleaning up pieces of tape from mini golf. I think I also need to take some boxes somewhere else and put things away. But next week, we are wrapping up our youth ministry year at the Valley Creek campus. Everyone is there. There's going to be games. There's going to be an ice cream truck. And what more? Oh, and Jesus. What more do you need in this world besides ice cream, games, and Jesus? Nothing, friends. Nothing. So next week, we are going to finish up the Love, Save, Changed thing devotion series by talking about how we were changed by all of that, and we should allow that to kind of control how we live. So I'm going to keep cleaning. Y'all have a good week, and I will see you at the Valley Creek campus next week. Bye, friends.